So welcome to video number 2, where we will go through a demo and show you everything you need to know about how to create a PI scenario. So I hope you saw the overview session that I did. If you haven't done already, so please sign up at picourse.com and you'll be able to get started on this, and then you'd get an overview of what PI is. But this video is all about creating an end-to-end scenario, all the different components you need to create, all the objects, and I'll just go through everything, and I hope you enjoy it. So here the video starts. Hi, my name is Daniel Gregersen and welcome to this module where we would have a look at how you can create your first scenario. So we'll go through from start to finish to creating a Hello World application. The thing is, these BPMs or PI and PO integration scenario contains a lot of moving parts. So we'll have to go through all of these components to create what we want to achieve with this. So bear that in mind, there's a lot of components that we need to create. So we will look into how we will create the SLD component for this. We'll create repository objects, we'll create directory objects, and we'll test the scenario, and hopefully that will work. So I encourage you to either follow along in this presentation. That way you would get some ideas on the different objects we're creating, how they feel, what they are like. And then you can stop the video anytime and repeat it if you want to see some of the components more than once. There's a zip file you can download with the sample content that I have here. So I guess the basis is the NXSD and an XML file that you'll be testing on. So the case is we have a vendor invoice and we want to get this mapped to an IDOC. And we don't fully trust the partner, so we need to validate the amounts and the total. We can read the file in one folder and place it in another folder. So this is our input document. It's in PI course module 1. It has a date, some parties information, some lines, and then a total amount. So this is what we have, and we want to have an output document filled like this, where we've put in content into it. So first we need to create a new software product we want to be using called PI course, and then we want to create software component underneath this that's called vendor. So we will go to our PI system, and here we have the PI system. We will log in to create a new product, new, and picourse.com, and this is 2.0. Normally we just put 0, but I did create one before. And our product that we would be creating here is a vendor. So we'll first create this vendor here, PI course. And the status is released. Then we just press finish, and we have created a new software component version for this. Then next step is we want to get into the PI system, and here we want to start the enterprise service builder. Oh, let's just go back to the slides for a moment. So now we have created the SLD content, and this is the product, the software component. Next up is we need to create the software component versions we have in here. So we need to create a service interface, service operation, method type, and data types. And an external definition, and then we need to create the mapping. So we'll import the software component version and we'll create a namespace in it. So we'll go back to the PI system. Oh, and I accept the risk. You also have the option of doing a lot of this in the NetWeaver Developer Studio. I do find that at the moment this one is a lot better to be using, but that may change soon when they're releasing new information, new updates. So we will create a new workspace and we'll import from the SLD. This will look up the list from the SLD. We will enter our search criteria here, PI course, yes sir, and we will create it. The first thing we need to do is to save, change the language, press save, and we can see it pops up here a vendor, but it does not have any namespaces yet. So this is the next point. So we need to create a namespace, and the way I normally do this is have the company name, http picourse.com/invoice, and if we have the system here, the first thing we'll do is the vendor system, and the software component version. This way it's easier to find which software components is used in different situations. So this is okay. We would create then we would let's go back here. Then we need to create a service interface called invoice OA, new, and interface service operation invoice outbound async. And because I've done this before, I get the pop-up help to help me with this. And here we have the operation, so we don't need to create another operation because it's already there. Because of the small screen size, I often have to click on this hat to minimize the screen and get more access there. So now we need to create the message type for this invoice. And we will place it in this namespace. So we have this as the target document that we want to have. So that means our message type needs to be the same as we have up here. And we need to put in the namespace of this one, which is module 1 up here. This way it's easier for module 1. You don't need to rely on your partner's naming because you can always override it here. So we will create a data type called invoice. In the same namespace, that's okay. And the first field we have here is date. So what we will do is just press save here. click here and we will add some rows below this one. And we will add 5 rows. The first field we have is date. Just see if I can. So we have date. And date, we are just using simple data types here. Then the next one is customer party. And then in customer party, we have a party concept. So what we'll do is we'll create a new line type that's called party. And party has 2 elements. We'll just say 2. It has an ID and it has a name. Oh, it's not this one. See. So now we can select this data type here, and we can select party, and then we can see from the customer party we now put in these extra information. We'll create a seller party, and we can also drag from here in there. Next up is the line. And we will create a new line data type. And insert rows. The line has 5. So the first one is number. Then we have item. Then we have item name, we have quantity. Quantity has an attribute, so we will create one attribute on this one. And the attribute is called unit. And then we have a price. And the price, we can see it's a currency that also has the currency. Since we're using the currency a lot of times, we will also create a currency. And the definition of currency is a float. And it has an attribute called currency, which is of type string. Save it. So we can just take this currency and plug it into this one. Here we would need to select the data types for these. So in the mapping, the data types you select does not matter, or types you select. It's only if you have a validation that it looks, oh, did we receive a currency, a float here or not. If it did not receive a float, it will fail. So we save the line, and we add the line type to this one. And then we have the total. So we can see here we got this one, and since the line item, we can drop down here and say unbounded. This will make it possible to have multiple different lines on. Next up is total. And total we have here, we can select row, insert rows. I don't know, sometimes I get these errors. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes you just have to restart. 3 on a lower level, and this is price. VAT and all of these is currency. So this is a bit tedious to create all of these data type. If you got something like this, you could export it. You could use XML to create an XSD for it. So that would be a different way of handling these data. So now we have created all the things for creating for the data that we are getting. So next up is we need to create the ERP namespace and create an external definition called IDOC and import a structure and create a service interface for this. So we will go to our namespace, it's here. Select all. ERP. And then we can create our external definition, new interface object. We have to select our external definition. So we have an invoice IDOC here. And it's an XSD. And we find this is the sample content. Here there's the invoice XSD. And we can save it. So when we open this one, we can see there's some different messages. So it's just seeing all the different elements and say, we got all of these elements. But that would just cause some confusion. So you would not need to select this one. And then we can see that's only one top line item that it is creating. Good. So now we can create the service interface for this. Invoice, IDOC, invoice. This is so what we can see here is we will select inbound here, and we can see that the message type pops up here. Change to also to have a fault. So on the inbound you have a fault message type. I seldomly use it. So we drag in the data type here, put it in, and we press save. So now we have all the different components, and next up is we need to do our mapping. So we need to create a namespace for the application, and here we would create a mapping between the two data formats. So we open our namespace again. Application, and here we will create a new operation mapping, and this is from invoice. So because I have done this before, I got the completion here. And what we'll do is we'll drag in the two service operation message interfaces. If we had multiple operations on it, we would be prompted to enter the relevant information. Then we will press reread interfaces, and then this is just, we're using the operation mapping to select which mapping we want to be using. But now we need to create the specific mapping, and I would normally just use the message types that's involved in this. For the message type, you could also use the same as the operation mapping. Let's get a bit more space here. So we can copy this one in here to the tests. And if we then go into this mode, we would see all of these. There's none of these that is red. So if, for instance, this one was called line 1, just for the heck of it, we would see the last one here, it's line 1, that this does not exist. So if we get a red one, it's because some of our structure is wrong. So that's a good way to validate if you're creating your service interface that how to do this. So we have, in the IDOC structure, we have a lot of these begin segment that for some reason need to be filled in with just a 1. Then we got 1 here. Need to put in a 1. We have the bill number and the datum, and so what we can do is we can actually add these two into it, and we have the date here. And what we can do is we have a date function that would take date transform, and this date transform we can see in this one gives has some properties. And if we look at the date, it's year, month, day, but with dashes in. So we would put in like this, and then the output is like this. And then we can do the mapping of these values. On this segment we have a datum also, and here we would, oh, come on. We would map this one to here. And the qualifier, I think if I go to the next one, I got some idea on the different qualifiers. So the order date 002 is the order date. So this is the order date that it's being created, and we'll put this information in the qualifier. We put in a constant here. We could also, if we want multiple different values here, we could say duplicate the subtree, and then a way you also can save a bit of clicking is just to copy from here. And then the qualifier on this one is, I think it's current date. I think I would set that to 001. So we will do constant 001. And datum here, we would get the date functions. There's one that's called current date. The output of this is in this format, and we just want this format. Then we would do the same for the partners. We'll just create one partner here. Oh, it ended down here, and if it does that, you can just say ungroup, and it's not a part of the group more. So we will create a constant on EDK. Let's just put this as a 1. Put in the begin segment here. And the partner name here. So what we have here is, this is the order giver, so this is AG. which is the buyer. So we would put in AG here. The partner, we will just drag it from, this is the EID, and here we have the name. Good. And we could probably replicate this also for doing the other one with the seller. We don't want to do that. Next up is we need to do it for the partners involved in this. So, or for each of the different lines involved. So we would do like this. The header, we put a constant in there. We have the line item, line number. We have the quantity here. We have the unit. And we have the price here. And let's just, we would ignore these at the moment, so we'll just disable this field. So one thing that we'd see is it would probably be a good idea if we had added an item number on this one, but well, I guess for demo purposes this is okay. And then we have the output element here, summer, as we can see in the, so we have an invoice total bit VAT. So we will create a constant on this one. Oh, so here we need to get the line item total, and we'll just get a value from one of these. So here we got the price up here, and we will select the statistics, get a sum, and now we can actually test this. So what we'll see here is this would summarize on each content, and we don't want that. We want to summarize it on the whole document, so we'll change the context of this one to the main document, and then we got all elements in one queue, and they will produce this this output variable here. Good. So if there's any red content here, you would not be able to do a test on it. So if you have a document, a way you can do it is just as I did with this one, just mark it and say disable, enable or disable field. So that way it would not be generated, and we can pull it out and see the content here. Good. So now we have created our mapping. We will save this one, and we will processing log. It's complaining about something. It's not been mapped completely. I don't know. Save. And we need to save this also. Let's just, if we open this one, if we press F7, it will do a check and see everything is okay. So now we need to activate these change lists, and the way we do this is go to this object design. We'll just maximize this one. Go to the change list, activate all of these changes. That way they would be cached, and we will be able to see what's going on here. One thing you need to do, just if it's first time you're using the PI system, is go to this environment, cast status overview, and just make sure that you got green here. If not, you have an error with your cache that you need to update. I think what I forgot to do was put a constant on this the current date field that we added. Oh well, doesn't matter. Next up is we need to go to the directory. We have done the mapping, activate change lists, go to the directory. We need to create some business components for this. And we need to add the interfaces to the business components. So we will open the directory, keep. Yes, I do accept the risk. So the first thing I would normally do in a scenario like this is create a new integration scenario, because an integration scenario is a place you can bundle all the things together, so it's a lot easier to monitor and figure out what's going on. So we'll create an integration scenario called invoice. And just save it so it pops up here. Then we will create a business component. It's called BC vendor. And in the vendor, we have a sender interface here. And this was called invoice. This one. And we will create a BC ERP. And here we have a receiver interface that is called something like invoice, like this. Oh, got too much width. Not that it's on this side, it's not used, but we might as well do it. Good. So we have created business components, and then we need to create the business channels. We could also create business systems, but those would have been updated in the SLD, and that's a little more difficult and takes some longer time. And since this demo is probably long enough, I just shorted it down to the easiest part. So we need to create a communication channel for this. On the vendor, we would have a sender because the vendor system is a sending system. So we'll go back here to, we'll open the vendor, and then we have here, we can create a new communication channel that is called file sender invoice. And here we would select the type. It's a sender, and we would need to put in the path where we have put our XML document. So this would be this location. It is everything.xml. Processing. We're putting it in test mode. And test mode means it will just leave the file there, and then whenever it has waited its processing time, it will start over again. So we'll just make sure it's not running that often. You could also put it to delete or to archive. If you delete it, obviously the file would be deleted. If you put it to archive, the file would be archived in a specific folder. So that is quite simple. And polling time, archive time, then we just need to create the receiver of the IDOC on the other system, ERP system. Save here. So there's a number of different ways you can go around of creating objects. You can go into the objects. You can also create it just from here. Here we'll say BC ERP, and file receiver invoice. So this is a file, it's a receiver, and we will put in this path and then ERP, target, XML, and we'll add a timestamp to it, and that is it. So next up is we'll need to create an integrated configuration, which is what connects these two systems between each other and add the mapping between the data types. So we will do this just by going to here, vendor, and because we've added the software namespace in the business component, we can use the drop-down box. And here we would select the communication channel we created on this. If we want schema validation, we can click here, and we don't want that because we didn't do a good job on the schema validation. Then we're selecting where we could send the system, and we could put in a condition saying if the vendor was this number, then send it to this system. Then if the message is going to this system, then use this message mapping. And this would create so an inbound interface that it has selected for this. And on this one we need to put in a communication channel. So now we have added a communication channel on this, and we have added all the different components that we need. We'll just save this one, and then we will activate. You can activate from here, and that's it. So if we just go up, check the cache status also here, we can see there's no red one, so everything should be fine. And if we go to here, we can see that we have created an ERP folder, and there is a document in with today's date. If we open this, we can see that the methods have been created, and we have mapped it to this IDOC lookalike structure. If we want to see it in the PI system, we can go to here, this configuration, monitoring. We have the integration engine here. There's a message monitor here. And here we can see that the message has been delivered. We can see what's the content on it. And we have the payload here. We can see what has the different step been in it. It has been executing this message mapping in this namespace, and it has placed the file in this folder and in this size. So this gives a lot of information. If it was not processed, it will also show up here. Oopsie. Tests, we have done that successful. So I hope that you now have your own first experience with using a PI component and all the different components in it. We'll go more into details about the different objects, but I just wanted to give you an overview of all the different components that is involved in this. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you want to know more about how to do any PI development and stuff like that, and you like the way I'm teaching, then go to picourse.com/pi-course, and you'll be able to get this full course and learn everything that I can teach you about PI development. And it's really an interesting complex, interesting video that I'll be sharing with you there. So please go to that site and sign up. If you had any questions to the video, please post them below, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. But I hope you enjoyed, and looking forward to talk to you soon. Bye.